Welcome to the Lake Forest Podcast, a podcast about the lovely city of Lake Forest, featuring topics like local news, sports, music, people, and food. My name is Pete, and I also live in Lake Forest. Hey, we have a sponsor for the show, NeuroNoodle. Hey, parents of athletes, you get a physical every year, right? Well, include a brain map so you have a baseline to compare it to in case something happens on the field. It takes only 20 minutes to get the data you need to have peace of mind to figure out if your athlete should get back on the field. Visit neuronoodle.com. Okay, one of the things we like to do here at the Lake Forest Podcast is put a spotlight on our local businesses. And today we're joined by Bruce Himmelblau. How'd I do, Bruce?
Good. You did better than I pronounced my own name. We only took 3 takes to get the intro correct.
That's just between us girls. He's the owner of Blue Sky Video Productions. Bruce, thanks for coming on the show.
Welcome. I actually got your notice back in June. Things have actually picked up, and I figured now's the time to actually start promoting ourselves again.
Okay, well, no better platform than the Lake Forest Podcast. Bruce, give us your background. Where are you from? How'd you get into video? 35 years. Wow, you're like a MTV guy.
Pretty much, but MTV was not an influence. I know you asked me that question before we started the show. I did watch MTV, and I did get MTV because we had cable or some version of cable back then. But actually, my influences was in high school. Basically, my background is my grandfather was a CPA. He actually helped found the Arthur Anderson accounting firm back in the 20s, I think.
Oh, wow.
And then he split off from them with his own firm. And then my dad became a CPA as well. So I was pretty much on track to become a CPA. And here I was I think, taking those aptitude tests in schools where it says, well, I like numbers and I am patient and I don't like people. You should become an accountant. And so, but then I discovered the radio station. I went to New Trier High School, and both New Trier West and New Trier East had radio stations, and it was the one extracurricular activity that actually joined the two schools, as opposed to like the football team or the basketball team, which pretty much divided the two schools. We actually worked together with New Trier West or New Trier East as well. And so I started off behind the scenes, engineering shows for for the seniors, and then eventually got my own radio show. And I was nicknamed Uncle Brucy because there was a big radio star in LA named Cousin Brucy. And so I went by the name of Uncle Brucy for a number of years. And then went to college, studied radio television. After a couple of years of that, changed majors and actually colleges as well, and started studying marketing. And I think that's important for all, I guess, would-be entrepreneurs, is that you have a wide range of backgrounds. So I had a accounting background, had a marketing background, had a communication background, took some acting classes as well. I think if you're ever going to be a CEO and you'd be a spokesperson for your company, you need to have that voice and that personality, I guess. Because if you've watched some of these keynote speakers with CEOs, they're really dry and they have no sense of humor.
Well, how do you get people to open up unless you can get them to smile, right, Bruce?
Yep.
Oh, now, are you in Lake Bluff, Lake Forest? Where do you live?
Live in Lake Bluff. My business is located in Lake Forest.
Got it. Okay. And how long you lived in town?
35 years.
So 35. Okay. So you had the business and yourself have been here 35 years.
Pretty much. Yeah. I think we started the business shortly before we moved to town.
Got it. And then real quick, before I forget, give a little small business love, because we've had a rough couple of years. Where do you like to hang out in town, Bruce? Have a beer, burger, so forth.
Well, the fact that we are a virtual company, we've started doing a lot of these live streams and fewer of these on locations. We can pretty much do everything from the office or from one of the bedrooms in the house. And so I think the one place I've been, I guess you could call it hanging out, is the grocery stores. All three of the local grocery stores, both uh, um, Sunset
Like Sunset, yeah. Sunset,
and
Jewel. I can't go to Jewel. Sunset, if I have to, I'll go in. If I can't order it online and just pick it up, I don't have the patience to go in there.
well, actually, my wife discovered, I think Sunset started their pickup first, and so she started ordering online. You just drive up to the drive up. They come out with all your pre-picked groceries, put them in the car, and there's no physical contact. Of course, that was 6 months ago.
Yeah,
I think we're more relaxed in going inside the stores more often now.
yeah, yeah. My wife loves Sunset. Hey, nothing against Sunset. It's just, I don't think I passed a credit check to buy groceries there. So, ha ha.
No, they still, I mean, their prices are good. They're competitive. Sometimes you pay for the convenience, sometimes you pay for the service, but
Yeah, yeah.
in most cases, they're competitive pricing.
All right, I take it back, Bruce. You got me. I we'll see. We'll see what my wife says.
But
Now,
then
Bruce,
again, you live in Lake
yeah,
Forest, you work in Lake Forest, you've got to have some, even Jewel has changed their, I guess, personnel or their customer service for the people in this town. Because
yeah,
although I think across the board, customer service is really important. And I think they still strive to have good customer service, whether they're in Waukegan, Lake Forest, or Evanston.
yeah, yeah. I go up to the Waukegan Walmart. We'll edit that out in post. So, Bruce, we we have 1,000 people that come into Lake Forest every year, and they're trying to find out what services are around. And you've been doing this for 35 years. Like, what are some of the services that you offer? Talk to me like I just moved here.
Well, we are primarily a B2B, although we did get our start in the 80s and 90s in a B2C atmosphere with doing event videos. For the first, I guess, 10, 15 years of our business, we did do weddings, bar mitzvahs, anniversary parties. We did a black tie birthday party for a dog once in Chicago, where the guy basically invited all his friends. They all came in black tie. We celebrated the dog's birthday. The dog went up to the bedroom and everybody else partied. But we've also done a number of large scale weddings here. We did a funeral. Actually, it was more of a memorial service for Bob Bell, also known as Bozo the Clown.
Yeah. Wow, I did not know that. Now, you started, dealing with consumers. Now it's mostly business to business. Like a lot of small business owners, a lot of CEOs live in town and whatnot, and we're talking to them. Like, what can you offer a small business, and what can you offer a large corporation? What's your sweet spot?
I think right now our sweet spot is live streaming productions, where we can work with any social media influencer or CEO or spokesperson for the company and get them into a comfort zone where they like something like this, appearing on camera to a widespread audience. We help with sales as well. So if they haven't heard of you, then a promo video can help. So we work a lot with YouTube, and not only with the content creation, but also with the content construction and distribution. Because if a tree falls in the wood and no one hears it, it doesn't make a sound. So if you post a video to YouTube and no one watches it, did you ever really post it to YouTube?
Well, we did have a lot of trees falling this past week, Bruce. Let's see. Some of the favorite projects you've done. You listed a few of them. Any others you want to talk about? I mean, the black tie for the dog, that had to be a favorite.
Yeah, I think more towards what we're doing now is we have one client who's, I think, a Fortune 500. actually located here in Lake Forest, who has a number of facilities across the country. And we've traveled with them to produce in-house corporate video communications. So we had one of their plants had over, 5 million man hours without a lost time accident. And so we went down to that location and talked with the employees and interviewed them and like, how is it plant so safe? What are they doing? And how can they share that with the rest of the company? The same company also does a kind of a retreat for the top salespeople. And we fly out to that location with them, sit down with those top salespeople to help share that content with other managers across the company. And they're always situated in a nice 5-star hotel. So we've gotten to Beverly Hills, to Boston, and Nashville. So it's a nice travel shoot. Of course, that pretty much shut down in 2020.
Yeah.
And so we started working again, moving towards this live streaming. And we're no longer restricted to the clients that we're able to drive to in the Chicago area. I now have clients basically from coast to coast and even some in London.
Oh, wow. Now, how did COVID hit you? I know everybody took a down year. The funds available, they didn't help everybody. I know it didn't help my business much. How was getting through COVID for you? Any high spots and the low spots?
Well, the one important thing was having a business accounting background. I understood the concept of having reserved funds for those times when cash is slow. In the beginning, I think the first few months, January through March, we went through adaptation. Again, like I said, clients started canceling their local shoots. So we had to think of another venue to start generating income. And that's when we came up with this live stream. It started off mainly just myself and my own show. I started doing my own live streams because I had started doing live streams like 5-6 years ago on a platform called Blab. Blab, and another one, it was called Periscope and Meerkat. Those live streaming platforms started making live streaming easy. Meerkat lasted a year, Blab lasted about a year. Periscope just ended in this past year, and they kind of merged their Periscope into what was inevitable, which was Twitter Live, because Twitter owned Periscope. And so I was there for day one of Periscope. I was there for the last day of Periscope. And, but how we adapted was by starting to doing these live stream shows, we kept in front of our target audience and we sent them out. We built our mailing list. And actually I've got something for our guests or our listeners, if they want to learn more about live streaming. I've got a resource page on our website, which is bsvp.com/resource. And there's a live stream kit there could help you get started doing something like this. If you need help, this is what we did. We started working with other clients, again, like I said, coast to coast, and helping them get over the fear of hitting that record button. Because it looks like you got over the fear, you started to do your own show. You have your own sponsor, which again can be either self-sponsored or else there are other ways to generate income. But I think the best way is to actually draw people towards your business. And if you can relate your podcast to your business, I think then that's where the synergy comes in.
Right. Well, here's what I learned. Zoom is pretty simple to use, but the production is bad. The sound is bad. You're relying on the other person's internet. And kind of, I spent a lot of time trying to get it perfect. I can have all my levels right, but if I'm running it through Zoom, it just It doesn't sound good. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get this right, Bruce. You got any suggestions for me or other small businesses like me that are trying to rely on Zoom?
Definitely Zoom is a good fallback. On the free plan, you're allowed up what, 2 people forever, or maybe
Yeah,
for several hours. If you
it's like
bring in a
40
third
minutes
person,
and
yep.
yeah.
And again, if you're doing this as income generating, that fee you're paying on a monthly basis is affordable because you're actually generating income from your live stream. I'm using a platform called StreamYard to produce our shows. And this is something I can actually produce them either from my live stream account or from my client's live stream account. So I can log into their account and stream it to their YouTube channel, to their Facebook, to their LinkedIn, and because it's connected to that. And so uh, again, on the resource page, I've got a link to that, which is, and then I can actually show you some behind the scenes. Let me do this real quick.
Yeah, and
Change.
it's a
So
little treat for our listeners if they want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Lake Forest Podcast. You can see what Bruce is going on here. So we'll try to paint a picture for the listeners out there.
okay, so let me go into my bigger channel. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes of what we call our broadcast studio. And what's
Okay.
really nice is it's really easy to learn. And so here, share my screen. So if you got here, whenever you do a live stream anywhere, my recommendation is always check your signal strength. And there's a simple tool, it's called speed test. So if you just go to Google and type in speed test, that will check your internet connection. And it's ideal to always have it wired in like an Ethernet cable. But if you can't plug in via Ethernet, you can always use Wi-Fi. And again, by running the speed test, that will tell you what your Wi-Fi upload speed, because download speed doesn't really matter because you're streaming uploads, but you should have at least 8 megabytes per second per stream. So here we are with entering the StreamYard studio. You can see the microphone going up and down. That is always a good signal. You can always check your camera and your mic, so make sure you're connected to the correct microphone. So like actually here it says USB mic. If I were connected to my internal mic, it would sound different. Actually, that wouldn't matter here on Zoom because you're listening to Zoom. So always check your camera and your mic. And then if you're doing a green screen, which I'm actually doing a green screen here, you can check that. You can actually fade it to, here's the green screen behind me. And here's, if you oversaturate your green screen, and if you don't quite mix it quite much, you get something like this. This is always a cute image. But so again, I do not recommend green screen for the beginner. If you're doing this, just starting out, just set up a nice pretty background, an office space, a bookcase is good, a shelf, even a blank wall with maybe a poster that identifies your brand if you're doing this for your business. So here is the platform StreamYard. This is actually one of our other shows. I will change out that to a, so here is my show. There you go. So what's really nice is you have these defaults. So as soon as you go in, you change your branding, and all of a sudden you've got your brand colors. And there we go. So then, but I'm not in the studio yet. So basically I'm right here is a broadcast, and I click on join the studio, and I'm in the stream. And I can bring up I can put up a logo in the corner so they can identify my brand. If I'm doing a different show, I can put a different logo. We did a reunion show for Blab. I mentioned Blab, the platform I was on 5 years ago. we did a 5-year reunion. This was my co-host. And we had.
Okay.
So
I see you.
There we go. How about this?
Okay, there you go. Now,
Okay,
and now
so
you're cooking. Yep.
Okay, so here is, let's go back to the logo. I can pop the logo on.
Sure.
Take the logo off. And then, so the show we did, this was the Bodenweiser und Himmelblau hour, which we had hundreds of live viewers every week. And so, and then I actually have a show opening. So here's something that we did recently that you can add your show opening and closing to your episodes. And I always recommend open strong with a call to action. As I've seen some shows that open with a 30-second countdown and then go into a 30-second opening. And now you're a minute into the show and your viewer has no idea what they're watching. So just like the, was it Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yeah.
That opened up with a exciting sequence of scenes before they really got, and the titles were almost secondary to all that. So here, so I usually open my show with, on today's show, we're talking about this, and I think you'll get this out of it, and let's get into the show. And then I click this little button here. And that takes me into my show. Nice. Little clip. It's short, it's sweet, it's not 30 seconds. In some cases, you can lose your audience in 30 seconds unless you have a really strong audience. And then again, with this show, I can actually, they only have one person on here right now, but I can change my setup with basically the way we have it on Zoom, which is a 2 across. I can zoom in to have full screen with 2 across. I can bring in additional elements. It's almost like another sharing screen.
Right.
So again, the platform is really nice. It's really easy. I've been on it for almost a year and a half now. I've figured out some overrides. I've discovered some of their bugs that they're correcting on a daily basis. And it's really a kind of getting used to the platform. It's like driving a car and learning how to drive a sports car and racing in an Indy 500. So in the beginning, you're driving a car and you only need maybe a month or so of instruction. But if you're going to want to race in the Indy 500, you need a little bit more skill. And that's what we bring to our shows is we can actually produce to be behind the scenes person, and you can be the upfront person and I can be behind the scenes pushing the buttons and pulling the levers.
Got it. Now, Bruce, are you familiar with Steve Douglas over at the Lake Forest High School? Just curious. He's a new media teacher there. We had him on a couple shows ago, and he had a student, Connor Clark. He graduated last year. He took all the new media classes. He got a job on ESPN, being on the sidelines and producing before he even attended Nebraska. So there's definitely education for this. There's people doing well like yourself in this field. Businesses out there are going to have to get better at video like myself. You're talking about cars. I'm on a tricycle, Bruce. You know what I mean? I'm hoping people can hear me with my internet. I'm hoping that when I have more than one guest on, that everybody doesn't talk over each other because nobody pays attention to raise your hand, and getting the content. And then the editing. I can get the audio editing down, but the video editing, I might just send you the file and let you, because I don't want this to be a representation of your work. This is me doing it, so we may have to look at that, Bruce.
No, actually, it's your show. I'll let you do the editing. But again, adding on to the analogy of the driving the car, Adding a producer to your live stream or technical director is like hiring a chauffeur. So you're in the back seat enjoying the ride, and the chauffeur is driving the show.
Well, at least if you're in the back seat, it's you got to get the guests, you got to get the script together, you got to get the content together, you got to get the edit, and you got to cross your fingers that, like this show, that it's going to come out okay using Zoom, because it sounds good right now, but then after the fact, it can sound like crap, Bruce. So we're gonna have to bring you back on as a guest. Now, tell us about the link and your websites for everybody that's listening today. You have a book that's out there.
Yep, it's we call our playbook. It is it's on our resource page, which again, once again, is BSVP, just like Blue Sky Video Productions .com. So bsvp.com/resource. And on that page, I can bring that up here.
Obviously, we'll have it in the podcast notes.
Yep. So that's wrong slides. Okay. So again, one of the tricks is setting up everything beforehand. And then
that's what I hear.
And don't close the tabs to your streams before you.
Bruce, so, you're preaching to the choir. Bruce, what did I miss? I mean, it's our first meeting. We're going to have you back, obviously, but anything you'd like to add before we close out?
I think the biggest thing is push that go live button. Start a show. And if you're doing it as a hobby, it's great. But how long is your hobby going to survive if you don't not generating income from it? If you're doing it as part of your business, sure, you can write off the podcast and expenses as an expense for your business. I know you've got your sponsor, and are you expensing this as a advertising expense, or is it more of a sideline? So if you're generating income, you can do that in multiple ways. The first and foremost is to have a podcast that reflects your brand and generates income directly to you. Because even the influencers on YouTube who have millions of views aren't generating millions of dollars. They're generating hundreds of dollars. And so if you can directly feed your content into your business, you're going to generate the most amount of money. But on the other hand, I've got the affiliate links, the StreamYard link, which is on the resource page. I've got a mailing email list link on there as well. And when you sign up for those, then I get maybe $5 for a sign up or $10 for a sign up. And you get 1,000 people, that's $10,000 with no actual work for yourself. So look into affiliate links that reflect who you are and what you do. Also on that resource page, I've got the live stream kit, where if you're looking to buy equipment, you can buy it through Amazon. If you buy it through the links, again, I get maybe 5 cents per purchase. And again, you get 1 million people to sign up for it. Then you're making what, $50,000. So I think, of course, we're not looking at those numbers, but again, if there's very little effort to set up affiliate links or to set up an Amazon link, affiliate links, you're generating income. And if those links are related to your business, because I wouldn't set up a link to gummy bears because it has nothing to do with my business. But I do have links to cameras, to microphones, to lighting equipment that have something to do with who I am, what we do, and what we recommend. and actually what we use on a daily basis, because a lot of times I'll recommend and add an affiliate link to anything we purchase, like hard drives. If you're ever, here's another key question. I know I'm taking up a lot of time here.
Go here. Come on, Bruce.
But one thing I always recommend is never store your data on your system drive, because your computer can go down and crash, be taken over by malware. If you back up your photos, back up your videos, back up anything that's important, back up your financial data to an external drive, and disconnect that external drive from your computer and rotate those out. So if your system does crash, if your system does get taken over by malware, they don't have all your data.
That's great advice, Bruce, because I learned that early on. I'm only in this 6 months, and you talk about you doing this to make money. This particular podcast, here's what I learned. You can get a portion of purchases or cost per acquisition based on whatever links that you put on with affiliates. You can get paid per 1,000 downloads or cost per 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And when your podcast has a couple thousand people listening to it, if it's a $60 CPM, that's $120. Okay, so it's
yeah.
This podcast is to educate the public and help out, guys like you. If I was doing it for the money, this thing would have stopped probably 4 months ago. So what's keeping me going is I live here. If people in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff and North Shore, if they can hear about your business and you can get a couple clients from it and pass our name along, I think that's priceless. So like you say, it's what's the reason why you're doing the podcast, why you're doing the channel, if it's to help out your other businesses. Because even the sponsor for the show, NeuroNoodle, that's my company. Okay. Here, let me tell you how many clients I've gotten from it. But it makes me, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think it's because you don't have the right call to action.
Yeah.
Your call to action is basically go to your website. And it actually took me 3 tries to find out how to spell neuro correctly. Because I started with NERO and so on. So have a better call to action.
Yeah.
Easier call to action. And actually ideally a single call to action, because if you start telling people to okay, go to my website, subscribe to my YouTube channel, call me on the phone, book an appointment, it's like, okay, which one should I really do? So you need, and that's basically from my marketing expertise, is that have a single call to action, maybe 2, if the first one is difficult. So
subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Okay. Bruce, I'm going to take you up on that advice. I got an open mind here, and it's NEURO for the listeners out there.
NEURONOODLE.com.
There you go.
Because this is an audio podcast, so you need to actually spell it out.
See, I'm writing that down.
Yeah. So one last thing before we go is the key to success is consistency. And that actually the real key to success is consistency. And those are actually 3 different types of consistencies. The first is consistency. If you're doing live streams, have it on the same day, the same time, every single day or every single week. The second is consistently maintain it. Just don't do 1 or 2 and then forget about it. So you just do, okay, I'll do it the first Tuesday of May, the first Tuesday of June, and then I won't do it in July, and then I'll do it in August, and I'll come back in the first couple of weeks of September. So if people are going to follow you, you need to be consistent. You have your podcast released date, you said it was Tuesdays?
Yeah.
Is that based on whether you have a guest that week, or is it every Tuesday no matter what?
Every Tuesday, 5 a.m. It's scheduled to go out no matter what.
Excellent. So basically people every Tuesday morning, they wake up, the first thing they do is they download your podcast. And actually, if they subscribe to your podcast, it actually downloads to them automatically. So it's open, it's there in your inbox, whatever you listen to it, either iTunes or Spotify, whatever. So the second consistency is stay, actually the first two will stay the same date. The second is stay consistent on maintaining a regular schedule. And then the third consistency is topic. My topic is basically business, marketing, and sales. Your consistency is Lake Forest. So if you started talking to people in California about, because there is a Lake Forest, California.
Yep.
It may not be that consistent. So you're going to get Lake Forest, California, and Lake Forest, Illinois, and it's going to be two different audiences because your local people are different. So again, that's the third consistent. So again, don't do it 1 week on books and interviewing an author, and then the next week interviewing a dentist. So being consistent so your audience knows every week what they subscribe to. Because again, if a newspaper only came out once, would you subscribe to it if it never came out again? So the reason why you subscribe to it is actually for future episodes, not for past episodes.
Got it.
That's consistency.
Let's throw a fourth one out there to help out the fellow future podcasters out there, the youngins out there trying to get this thing going, even the oldins. Get 5 or 6 podcasts together and launch them all at once so people have something versus I screwed up. I did it one at it, I had one, I waited a couple of days, did another. I should have had them all, 5 out at once so people could get it, because we're trying to get in their routines, right, Bruce?
Right.
Yeah.
So it should be one of your, because every time is limited. People watch or listen to so many podcasts in a day, or if the commute is now down to the bedroom to the office, which is walk in every and they stay in their slippers all day. So your audience is no longer commuting downtown. They no longer have that 30, 40, 50-minute drive. So to get them to listen to the podcast, they need to add it to their schedule and find the value in it. And by offering value, and I would say still put in at least 10% of a sales pitch, because if you're not monetizing your content, you're not going to sustain your content.
Bruce, I think awesome advice. And please subscribe to our podcast, the Lake Forest Podcast, and see if I've taken up your advice and applied it. Bruce, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Welcome.
Oh, and again, one last time, it's B as in boy, S as in Sam, V as in Victor, P as in Paul.com /
resource for
resource.
Resource for the resources, and live for the live streams, and we're on the YouTubes at BSBP TV. So please subscribe there.
Perfect. Well, thanks for listening to the Lake Forest Podcast. Please give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, smash that like button on Facebook, Instagram, and follow us on Twitter. Let us know what you'd like to hear about in the upcoming shows. I love the feedback. What's my call to action? I don't know. Get a pad, a paper, and a pen. Write all this down. Again, I'm Pete and can be reached at pete@lakeforestpodcast.com. The link will be in the podcast notes below. We thank you for listening. Oh, one more. You got your pen and paper together? If you really, really like us, subscribe to our podcast. And on Patreon, $5, you get a scoozy. What's a scoozy? Go to lakeforestpodcast.com and find out. Cue the band.